Hey everybody, it's GobletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of Wilds of Eldraine. Without further ado, let's get into the draft. We've got a pretty sweet rare, so we'll probably try to build around that. There's Italian's Messenger here. 3 mana for a 1/3 flying fairy noble, and whenever you attack with one or more fairies, you get to draw a card, then discard a card, and whenever you discard a card this way, you put a +1/+1 counter onto a fairy you control. So worst case scenario, by itself, this is going to keep drawing you a card, discarding a card as it attacks, and getting bigger every time it attacks. So it turns into a 2/4, then a 3/5, and so on from there. So I think this is a pretty solid blue rare to start us off with. If you really don't like blue in the format, and I do think it is probably the weakest color in the set, you could scoop up like Witchstalker Frenzy as just a really efficient removal spell. It can often be cast for only 1 red mana, which is insane, and it can kill almost anything. I think Frenzy's the best non-rare card here, but Galefang and Neva are solid uncommons as well. But we'll start with Italian's Messenger towards a potential fairy deck. For pack 1, pick 2, there's a Hatching Plans, which I think is really good if you take it early enough to draft bargain cards super heavily. Because if you can sacrifice this consistently, 2 mana to draw 3 is an absurdly good rate. So I think I'm going to go with Hatching Plans here, but I like Frolicking Familiar quite a bit as well if we want to go towards blue-red spells. That's where this will be excellent because you can use the adventure and the creature pretty well. So that's an option as well, but I'm going to go for the Hatching Plans here, see if we can't get a bunch of bargain cards that allow us to sacrifice an enchantment. Pack 1, pick 3 now. I'm not a massive fan of either of these blue cards. We do have a Barrow Naughty if we want to go towards blue-black fairies. That will get a bit of a buff for being in a fairy deck. Also Hopeless Nightmare, which is another great card for bargaining away, and we already want to take bargain cards highly with our Hatching Plans, so we could take Hopeless Nightmare. There's also Imidane's Recruiter, which I think is just kind of a busted card in general. It's definitely the strongest card in the pack if we disregard what we've been taking so far. And there's Edgewall In, which is really solid for pretty much any deck in the format as an Evolving Wilds that can also pick up a creature with an adventure from your grave later. I think I agree with the auto-suggester. I'm going to stay open here and take Recruiter, but you could also stay open with the Edgewall In, or you can grab the Hopeful Nightmare there for just going full-on bargain. Pack 1, pick 4 now. No great fairies. Honestly, no great cards in general that I'd be that happy to play in almost any deck. Curse of the Werefox is probably the best card here. We might even just take Evolving Wilds instead, since it's a lot more flexible. Yeah, not a great pack here. I'll just take an Evolving Wilds. Pack 1, pick 5. Not a ton of blue flying around, just a sleight of hand here, which is fine. Not a super strong card or not a super strong pack in general. I like Monstrosity on curve, just a 2 mana 3/1 aggro dork. Might be my favorite card in the pack, but Sleight of Hand's not that much worse as a little card draw spell. Pretty empty pack overall, not much in terms of like excellent cards here. Just a bunch of filler. We'll take the on-color one. For pick 6 now, stockpiling Celebrant, which has some great synergies in this format with any of the hopeless enchantments or hopeful enchantments, the ones that hit the board and give you like a big enter the battlefield effect, then you just pick them up and replay them again for good value. I'm a huge fan of stockpiling Celebrant. I consider it to be one of the better white commons. I'll take it pretty highly, maybe even take it over Obira's Attendance here as the card that makes the most sense for going into fairies. Yeah, it's the best off-color card by a lot. I'm not that excited by Attendance. I'll take a Celebrant, speculate towards that. Pick 7, there's a Spreading Seas now, which is solid for bargaining away. You just draw a card, bargain away later. Prophetic Prism is very similar. Draw a card, get some mana fixing. When you don't need the fixing anymore, you can bargain it away later in the game. Bunch of filler 2 mana, 3 mana creatures for a bunch of different decks. Nothing super exciting there. I think I'll take the Prophetic Prism, similar to the Evolving Wilds pick, just keeping us open, giving us some fixing for whatever archetype we end up in. Pick 8 now. Guess we would just take Ice Out here. We're heavier into blue than anything else, and this is a way to bargain away our Hatching Plans. Double blue, counter something, sack hatching plans, draw 3. Sure. Pick 9. Smith seems pretty filler. None of these black cards seem great either, though. Candy Trail's filler, but it's filler for any deck, which is nice. Being completely colorless. Letting you scry draw a card. Might just take Candy Trail. Warehouse Tabby could be okay if we're bargaining away a bunch of enchantments. I'm not a huge fan of that, though. We'll take the Candy Trail. Now we can take a Scream Puff. I do like this card. Just kind of deceptively big. 5 mana, 4/5. Get a food token whenever you hit your opponent with it, so it practically has lifelink if you're damaging your opponent's face. And it's really hard for your opponent to find a profitable block. It's going to trade into an equally sized creature, and any double block they do, it's going to kill both the creatures because of that death touch. Alright, not a big fan of any of these. Take a Disdainful Stroke, but in regular draft and sealed, I don't think Disdainful Stroke is super main deckable. Not a bunch of powerful high mana value cards. There are a lot of good aggro decks in this format. Just a lot of decks where Disdainful Stroke isn't really going to do anything. Take a bunch of nonsense. And, I mean, we're pretty open to whatever we open up, honestly. I'm not that excited about our blue outside of the Talion's Messenger. The Hatching Plan's Ice Out is cute. And we've got a lot of cards that fit in anywhere with Evolving Wilds, Prophetic Prism, Candy Trail, so I just do whatever looks great. Bramble Familiar, 2 mana for a 2/2 that taps for a green, so 2 mana, 2/2 mana dork, plus you can put it back to your hand later to use its adventure, which is just mill 7, put the biggest card from among them on the battlefield. Might be interested in that, maybe go green-blue ramp here. Feels pretty good. I think we're open enough to try that out. Could also just stick to blue and take a Bitter Chill as a solid removal spell, since we are pretty dang likely to be in blue right now. Spellscorn Coven could be good for blue-black fairies, actually. But again, I really don't think we need to be in black for Talion's Messenger to be good. It's solid by itself. Hack 2, pick 2 now. Gotta splash in a Sir Armont for just beef. Could also just take Ice Rot Sentry, also mainly for beef, but good for like blue-white tap as an archetype. Ratcatcher Trainee is one of the better cards here, but we're not going to be like a really aggressive deck most likely to make use of it well. Just take more random fairies, but we don't need fairies for Messenger. We can just use it on itself. So I'm not heavily prioritizing fairies or anything at this point in the draft where we didn't see like a really open blue-black fairy direction. I'll take the Ice Rot Sentry here. Well, I guess we're blue-white because Moonshaker Cavalry, while it is 8 mana, is basically going to win the game every time it hits the board. So blue-white, trying to make it to 8 mana, just going to be blue-white good stuff in general. Yeah, 8 mana is a lot, but basically just says you win the game when it enters the battlefield. I think it's worth it. And then there were 0 white cards. And a Fairy Fencing, which is an excellent removal spell if you have any fairies on board, so I guess we gotta take that one. I'm not taking a second sleight of hand over it. Okay, let me put the Scream Puff back in. We might still be on blue-black as an option here. Pack 2, pick 5, another Prophetic Prism. Frolicking Familiar. Could be like mono blue splash everything, but we can't splash in a triple white card like Moonshaker Cavalry. I think I'll take the Familiar here. We could splash in its adventure off of Prophetic Prism. And just play it as a 2/2 flyer most of the time. Solid white now. I like that. Maybe we just splash in a little bit of black. Like we're blue-white, splash in a little bit of black for Fairy Fencing and stuff. I'm not going to be aggro enough for Armory Mice, but I could still take it just to have an early blocker, which I don't really have right now. But I think I'm going to go for another Stockpiling Celebrant. Yet another stockpiling celebrant now. Seems fine to me. Do want to find some better synergies for it than just picking up a prophetic prism. But the card has a lot of potential. Another counterspell is probably good for us. We're going to be pretty slow. Another familiar is also good if we pick up all the prophetic prisms we see in pack 3. I'll take another familiar. Alright, Frostbridge Guard's probably the kind of dirtily 2-drop we want in this deck. Just trade off with something early or tap things down later. Not gonna be super hyped about any of these. I'll take the Attendants. Stop some damage early in the game and then get a big 3/4 flyer later. Nice way to stall things out a little longer. Get us closer to the 8 mana we're looking for. I do have 1 Living Lectern already. We could just use 0/4s as our early plays. Yeah. And then we can put Sorcerer rolls onto our flyers later while drawing a card once the 0/4 body isn't blocking well anymore. It's probably fine. Just cycle it away later. Weird card. But probably fine here. Not exciting, not good, but playable. Rare draft some Enchanted Tales. And find out what we're going to get to play around with in pack 3 soon enough. Okay, pack 3, what do we got? Not much. Probably want the Vantress Transmuter. Get that Croaking Curse to slow down one of our opponent's bigger creatures and then just drop a 3/4 to get blocking. Also a Lich Knight's Conquest. Sack any number of artifacts, enchantments, or tokens, return that many creatures from grave to battlefield. We're not trading off with that many great cards early. If you have a ton of food production, a ton of treasure production, a ton of rat production, this card could be pretty gross after some creatures get trading. Then you sack like 3 rats and get back your 2-drop, your 3-drop, your 4-drop. Could be pretty awesome in the right position. I don't think that's going to happen a lot for this deck, though. There'd be a really fun version of this where if we got a bunch of the fairies that mill you for, we could be like a self-mill reanimator deck with that thing, and that could be really cool. But that's not how things are going right now. I think I have to take Candy Grapple for the super efficient removal, and we just run a couple swamps with our Evolving Wilds and a Prophetic Prism. Decadent Dragon's a pretty gross card, but Double Red's a bit of a hard sell, even with a little bit of splashing fixing that we have here. Candy Grapple also excellent with our hatching plans. Another Fairy Fencing's pretty excellent. We don't have a ton of adventures for Chancellor of Tales, but we have a few, so it might be okay. I think I'd rather just take the Fairy Fencing for excellent super splashable removal. Pack 3, pick 4. Not a ton of stuff here. I actually want to see how close we are to blue-black. 18 cards, including Evolving Wilds. I don't think that's happening. I don't think we can take Barrow Naughty or Conceited Witch. Guess I'll take the Cursed Courtier to work with our white cards that pick up a permanent. The Stockpiling Celebrants is what it is. Take another Ice Out to go with our hatching plans. Definitely need a little more bargain. Our curve is just 3 mana. We're just playing every 3 mana card. That's our deck. 3 mana .deck is the file name. Pack 3, pick 6. The draw 3 has been really impressive. I've had a lot of opponents really get me with this one. Once you stabilize, this is just a good way to start winning the game from that point on. similar to like Lorien Revealed from Lord of the Rings draft, if you've ever played with that card. Take the Into the Fey Court. It's been impressive. Well, we got no Bira now for blue-black fairies. Bit late, bit late. Maybe still splash it in and take it here. Flash Flyer that makes our opponent lose extra life when we play any more fairies. I'm going to take another ice out and really make sure we can sack our hatching plans. Another Evolving Wilds seems important. Another Into the Fey Court. Get that big card draw. It's going to be a very different deck from what I've been playing recently with a lot of aggro stuff. So I have no idea how I feel about it right now. Probably don't want another Armory Mice. Take a Misleading Motes, but I'm not confident that's going to make the cut. I've already got 33 non-land cards here. Yeah, I have to cut 10 cards out of here. Probably not. Alright. Alright, so we need to cut 10 cards out of here. I don't think we're that aggressive to want the little 1/1 that maybe gets a little bit of buffs. Don't think we want that. I don't like the lecterns generally, but I like the idea of being able to swap out the cursed roll on our cursed courtier for the sorcerer roll, because each creature you control can only have one roll on it per player. So if you put a cursed roll on your own card, and then you put a different roll onto it, the cursed roll will fall off. So being able to swap out for a sorcerer roll, plus you draw the card when you do that thing, so, I mean, it replaces itself, it's a cantrip, I think that's fine. Again, don't think we're aggressive, so Armory Mice might get the cut. Frostbridge Guard's also a bit expensive for its cost, so maybe that's. I really feel like most of what I want to cut is creatures, in which case Moonshaker Cavalry becomes a much weaker finisher, because we actually just don't have that many creatures on board when we cast this. Plus, 8 mana is so much. Maybe we just don't even do the cavalry thing, and we just grind out some nonsense. The Celebrants actually don't seem that great in here. They're good with the Courtier and the Prophetic Prism. And that's about it. I actually think I like all my other 3-drops better. We did not find the good stockpiling Celebrant synergies, really. I mean, these are potential cuts for the creatures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cut 7 creatures total. Puts us to 12. It's pretty low for cavalry. I guess we'd be at 13 if I keep the cavalry in. I think I am just going to insta-cut all these. Still 4 cards to cut. Yeah, whatever. It's probably not the right thing to do, but I'll just cut 4 non-land cards at this point to keep the Moonshaker Cavalry thing going. So I think I have enough good card draw to not need Candy Trail, because I've got double Into the Fey Court, Sleight of Hand hatching plans. Hopefully enough good counterspells removal to not need Moment of Valor and Misleading Motes, the dirtiest kind of removal spells. Still need to cut 1 more card to run 17 lands, and I might even want 18 in this deck, because I've got an 8-drop I want to cast. But I don't know what I cut here. The last non-land. Maybe just Scream Puff. Get that black splash to more of a splash here. No win conditions. Blue X control with no win cons. Let's go. Yeah, sure. Drop a Scream Puff. Probably put a mountain in here for the double familiar. And then could go 18 land, 41 card special, because I'm too lazy to cut the 41st card. That would give us a solid ratio land and on land. In between 17 and 18 land deck, basically. 17 blue cards, 2 white and 4 black. Wow, I actually ended up with 2 white cards. Yeah, I probably could have read this draft pod better and just been blue-black. Since these white cards we got just didn't end up being all that great in the first place. So we're playing white pretty much just for Moonshaker Cavalry at this point. That's so disappointing. So could just make the deck more consistent, just not play white. We get to put the moats back in the candy trail. Not worry about planes. Yeah, this was not a super great draft for the second color here. We probably should have just hopped on blue-black fairies immediately with Messenger, even though we didn't need to. Would have just given us a better sense of direction, because I don't think there was any particular second color that looked like the best, most open color to pair with our blue. Outside of red, I saw a lot of good red aggro stuff running around, but red aggro does not pair well with the blue in the format. And it would have really been awkward. Unless I just forced in this draft pot, I guess. Maybe we should have just forced. And we could do this, and then still get to cut 2 cards, so I could drop Candy Trail, and then a land and go 17 lands since I don't have an 8 drop. Still keep a mountain in here with the Prophetic Prism for the familiars. No double black cards. 5 Swamp, double Evolving Wilds, 1 Prism for 8 potential there. 9 islands because we have so many double blue cards and so many blue cards in general. I think this is how we want the mana base to be. And I guess we'll call it a deck here. Alright, here we have a look at today's deck list. We're going to be a blue-black deck here, mostly pretty close to mono-blue control nonsense, where we just have some flyers to maybe chip in for a bunch of damage and try to close out the game with those, and a bunch of annoying controlling stuff like triple counterspell here, some cursed roll tokens as mediocre removal, some bounce removal, and then the black splash mostly for some good removal like fairy fencing and candy grapple. So just try to keep any of our opponent's big threats under control while we chip away with some flyers. Seems to be the general game plan here. We also have a lot of ways to get ahead in card advantage with double Into the Fey Court as a draw 3, and a Hatching Plans as a draw 3 if we can sacrifice it to a bargain card. So a good amount of card draw in here as well to get ahead in cards, and hopefully use that card advantage to just have more spells and stuff to cast and win the game over the long run. So very different from the first several drafts we've done of just a bunch of different varieties of aggressive stuff that has played really well for us. This is much more tempo-y, controlling, definitely not in my my area of expertise or my area of comfort, but looks like not as bad as I thought it was during the draft. I thought things were kind of falling apart, but looking at the deck, I think it makes sense. I think we've got a lot of powerful cards. It's just very different from what we have been doing, so we'll have to see how it all does as we head into the gameplay. Here we are on the play for game 1. We're a pretty slow deck in general, so we're going to keep almost anything with both our colors, both our primary colors. We do have a tiny bit of red off of our adventures. Unassuming Sage is going to start things off, 2 mana 2/2 for our opponent. Could just fencing that away immediately. Don't think that is going to be necessary. Save the fencing for what they might play main phase 2. If they play like a 3 mana 3/2, that'll be good. Oh my god. You gotta be really, really careful about targeting your own creatures with adventures in this format into open mana, because if your opponent has instant speed removal, it can hit you really, really badly. Because you can just kill the adventure and the creature and the other creature all in one fell swoop. So that's going to get me to be happy about just killing that. I think, do I save the cursed roll or do I just play a 3/4 here? Probably just save it. I've got a counterspell to hold up too. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. That's spooky enough, I think, to just get rid of that. Big card draw engine coming up. Now we just drop our flyer, because I don't have a counterspell to hold up anymore. Ooh, do they have the pick up 2 cards thing? Oh, they do. That's really going to help them after the big 2-for-1 we got in our favor earlier. Okay. Probably was supposed to just play this as a 3-4 a while ago. Don't try to put the... Don't do it again, opponent! No! Why would you do it again? No! That's very unfortunate for our opponent. Well, they're probably just tapping out for a 3-3 again. I'll just play the 3-4 now that I probably should have played a while ago. Here it is. 3-3 on the board. And that's it. Draw into the Frolicking Familiar with the mana to blow off some steam. Might as well shoot the face, and then get our flyer. Pass turn. Keep this in case I draw my draw a card, discard a card every turn thing. That big fairy. Because we would immediately draw a card, because I will have an attacking fairy. Not if they blow it up. Never mind. Alright, send in the Ashiok Reaper. Alright, I'll crap back for 5. Chill with me. Yep, crap back for 5. But oop, they are dead to our flyer. And they don't find the removal, so we are 1-0 as we head into game number 2. Alright, here we are on the play for game 2 with our blue-red spells deck. Let's go. We got good Frolicking Familiar nonsense going on. Do I even get greedy and just wait to buff the Familiar later? Maybe. I should have played a Mountain, actually. If I wanted to do that. I instinctually was like, turn 1 sleight of hand, find the black source. But with this hand, I think it was better to just play Mountain. Hold off Familiar. I actually have a 4-drop to play turn 4, so I don't think I'm actually going to sleight of hand later. Should probably take Ice out over the black spell without the black source here. Yeah. Okay. Do I drop a 0-4, or do I just hold up my 1 mana, 1 damage? Against a green deck, I don't know how much they're going to have with 1 toughness. Let's get the 0-4 down. We'll see. Green-black. Not a 1 toughness card. That is a very good one, though. It's like a... Not quite a 3-for-1, because a food isn't quite worth a card, a wicked roll isn't quite worth a card, but does 3 things off 1 card, one of which is just fully killing an opposing threat, so... I think Witch's Vanity is very good. There's a Greta. They're going to try to put the Wicked roll onto. Can make Greta smaller here and still hold up the counter spell. Because I can bargain away the cursed roll. Probably better than playing the 0-4. Now Greta's just a 2-2, but a 2-2 with some very good abilities for the future. So definitely looking to draw into some of our hard removal. Take 2. Greta does turn into a 4-4 again if I have to sacrifice the cursed thingamabob. And I think I do. I think I need to counter that. So Greta's going to be a 4-4 again. Drawn to another land. Could just put the roll onto the familiar and draw a card because the 3/4 is not blocking Gret at all anyway. Probably is my line. Find another land. Well, what do we scry into? Another land? Alright. Take down the familiar. That's a very bad top deck. So I just held off on familiar and held up ice out. Things would have been going a lot better for us, but I didn't have anything else to do at instant speed, so if they didn't end up casting something worth countering, we would have just been holding up mana for nothing and losing a lot of tempo. Obviously, in hindsight, if I had the counterspell up for Greta, I think we'd be in a better position, but I don't think it was that bad of a line without that information at the time, because it's not like we had like a 3-mana instant draw to hold up alongside the counterspell so that we'd have something to do with our mana if we didn't counter anything that turn. So there was definitely risk to just holding up a counter there. Did not work out well for us to not hold it up, though. Also, the fact that they have 5 more cards and no other threats still feels super statistically unlikely. There we go. There's one. Well, a solid amount of mana here. Well, they're not going to bargain that. Surprised by that. I think it'd be solid to turn a land into a 3/3 here. But then they wouldn't have a 4/4 anymore, so the Witch Stalker wouldn't be attacking. I get it. Yeah. Couldn't attack into the Transmuter, and the Witch Stalker wouldn't be triggering, and all that. Okay, well, if they had a Royal Roll to play too, then I guess they could have. But this is pretty great also, being able to just attack with both of these through the Transmuter. That is not enough at 2 life, they just attack with all 3. Alright. Not a fantastic game for us. With pure hindsight, things could have gone better had we found the counter on the Greta. But even then, again, with pure hindsight, seeing what each player drew into after that, I think we just hit way too many lands regardless. So I don't think there was a way to turn that into a victory. But maybe we need to consider that in the future. I think the biggest reason to maybe have held up the counterspell there was that because they had the Witch's Vanity about to pop off, they were going to try really hard to get some kind of creature on the board to get the Wicked roll onto, so the odds of them not playing a spell there to get countered by Ice Out were pretty low if I'd just held it up. So that would definitely mitigate the risk of like holding up the mana for Ice Out and then not countering something, because they had something on board that was just actively incentivizing them to cast something ASAP. So I think I should have held the counter there, but would not have changed things for us. in the end. I'm going to turn one sleight of hand, or are we just going to Evolving Wilds for the red source immediately? I'm just going to grab the one mountain and pass. Vampiric Rites, turn 1. Drop our Lectern down and pass. Turn 3, we sleight of hand, see what we draw. Hit a Prism if I don't draw a 2-drop. Fairy Fencing and Transmuter. I think I'd rather take the full-on hard removal of Fairy Fencing than the Transmuter there. Opponent is stuck on double black, which is a position I'd be super happy to see in any of my previous decks. All that aggro nonsense, but here with my blue-black control deck, we're not really gonna pressure them that much for being stuck on their 2-lander. Could pop off the card draw with the Lectern right now. Plays poorly against 2-mana removal for the Sentry, like Candy Grapple. Yeah, I don't think I do it here. Aha! We didn't get wrecked by Candy Grapple. I guess we would have drawn the card no matter what. But we would not have gotten the sorcery. They're going to have 3 mana up next turn, maximum. I don't think I need to hold up a counter spell for a 3 mana card. I'm just going to play the Scream Puff and try to get that beating down. Hopefully. If they have another Candy Grapple, they could sack Vampiric Rites to kill Scream Puff. Now they can sack the rat to do it, but that's still a 2-for-1 because we killed their rat out and their Candy Grapple. Alright, they're just going to sack the rat, draw a card, find the red source. They are black-red. I feel solid about our position here against a black-red deck that has stumbled this far. Now we can just keep sending in with a Scream Puff and holding up our counter. Only double blue to hold up the counter, so we might even find the land to play the Attendance too. Yeah, since I'll be holding up a counter, let's get the Sorcerer roll and draw a card. Start scrying. Ooh, they're gonna take it. We get the food and everything. Let's go. Was not expecting that. But maybe they're just gonna sack the Spear Guard twice for draw 2. Be hard to keep up in card advantage, but I think we can keep this Scream Puff on board pretty easily. Alright, cool. Pass the turn. Get another scry here. Just beat down with one single Scream Puff until they die. If I keep hatching plans on top, I'm really hoping I don't have to counter something yet. I'm gonna do it. We hit for 5, don't have to counter anything yet. Because if I can get hatching plans down before I have to counter something, that'll be incredible. I don't have to counter that, but I think I probably would have if I didn't put hatching plans on top of my deck. I totally forgot this was the turn I was supposed to just play my 3/4 flyer, because I can still hold up ice out. Probably bad, because I don't think it's worth holding on to the Desperate Parry. I don't think that's going to do anything. Shared Animosity. When a creature control attacks, gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking creature that shares a type with it. So the idea is with enough rats, it's going to get really big, but for now the rats are just 2/1s. I think I resolve that and then counter any other rat production. Like, I take 4. It's not a big deal. Yeah, we've got multiple food tokens. Could even stop 2 of that with my parry. If I really need to. Okay, now I can Hatching Plans, still have 6 mana up, not enough to play Attendance and hold up ice out. Last turn was really the turn to do it. I don't think I'm fencing the Spear Guard, we just let them get another rat here. Misleading Motes? Sure. That'll kill a rat. So the rats all attack for 3 now, so they can hit for 9. But 6 if I use Attendance. I'm going to keep getting food from Scream Puff, make sure I'm at a ton of life. Think I should be fine. They'll have things under control. They cast anything good and I get to counter it and draw 3, which is massive. Fencing one of the rats because of the animosity. I think I'm fencing one of the rats because I know I'm about to draw at least a Misleading Motes for more removal. Well, they can Vampiric Rites in response, which is awkward. Guess I'll just take my hit for a turn. Actually, Vampiric Rites in response to using the Attendance is even more awkward because they can just send the Attendance into the grave. But then we've killed the rat fully, so it's probably fine if that happens. Right, they can sack a rat, and then my Attendance is in my grave, but then they don't have another rat, which means all their rats are smaller. Yeah, let's fencing in their end step. Just take 6, go to 9. Play the Rat Catcher, which is a human peasant, which is fine, not getting any bigger from Shared Animosity. That's it. Alright. Probably fencing a rat here because of Shared Animosity now. They get 2 Vampiric Rites. They chump block the Scream Puff. Or I get another food. Minecart Daredevil, give it +2/+1? That's annoying enough. I'm going to ice out here. I've got 2 more copies in the deck. We might be able to draw into another counter. And this lets me cash in my draw 3. Into the Fey Court. 8 mana, 5 on this. The flyer I get can't block anything. It's probably best to just send in Scream Puff, play Lectern, Obira, and Misleading Motes with my 8 mana. They do chump. Here's Lectern. And the other two are instant speed, so we will do them at instant speed. Things do look super duper under control here. I could moats the one of the rats right now so they can't vampiric rights, but then I don't have moats for a potentially larger creature if they play just a big standalone threat. Yeah, chill. This is chill. Could just spend 4 mana eating 2 food if I need to. Imidane's Recruiter. Would love a counterspell for that, but I don't have one, so they get a couple knights. Sure. Now, instead of eating food, I'm gonna kill a knight. There's the ice out for the recruiter, so we don't die to a wide board state. Love to see that. I think I'm just holding up an ice out and a bunch of food. Hold up an Obira as well for another blocker just in case. Cool, I've got 9 points of life gain on the board. Shrouded Shepherd, sure. Resolve that because the recruiter is going to give everybody haste and all that stuff, so we need to counter the recruiter over anything else. Now we ice out the recruiter. 3, 4, 5, 6. Got enough mana to eat all my food if I sack my prism here, so I think I will. Send in the team. Trade into a rat and chump there. Eat a bunch of food. Into the Fey Court, Obira's attendance. Later. Yeah, I think this is cool. Maybe even just take the 4 and block both the rats is better. Probably is. Into the Fey Court we go. Hoping to draw any land, because then I can shoot a rat and play the otter. But they've got the mana up for right, so they can counter the otter if I try to do that. So Talion's Messenger seems a little better. If that's going to be the case. Pick up a Fairy Fencing. There's a chump again. Gain a life, draw a card. Each player's drawn so many extra cards here. We've drawn an absurd amount, though. 13 cards left. Oh, that was my opportunity to shoot the 1/1, because they tapped out with the Vampiric Rights. I clicked too quickly. I'm falling asleep mid-game, because I don't like these kind of decks. Oof. That is my bad. I've been recording a lot of Magic in one giant time span. It's been a long recording session. Take 3. Put them to 6. Fencing the 2/2, they gain 1. They don't die. Yeah, they don't die from it. Probably not worth it. I do think I fencing the blocker to get Screen Puff in, though. If they tap out of Vampiric Rites, I'll kill them with the blow-off steam to the face, which would be very funny. Oh, they tapped out of it! Oop. Alright. That was a long one. Our opponent got stuck on mana a lot in the early game, and it still took a super, super long time to win, but that is just the kind of deck we are playing. I feel like we were in a really solid position the whole time, because I played pretty loose, pretty sloppy, and we still stayed in the lead about the whole time. So we are 2-1 heading into game number 4. Here we are on the play for game 4. This is a little risky. We gotta draw a land, but I like the mono blue hand with the red source for Frolicking Familiar. One land makes the hand beautiful with all these 3-drops that we have. Playing against black-red, there's a Witch's Vanity on my lectern. My 0/4! It's gone. Did not hit a land. That's bad. Alright, here's a 2/2 Wicked Visitor. Here's a 1/1 Fairy Dream Thief. Well, I guess I found a kill for Frolicking Familiar, but that will draw them a card from the graveyard. So they still get solid value out of it. That is not the draw I'm looking for. Another Living Lectern it is. It forces them to spend removal to get in with their 3/3 at least. Or spend a combat trick, either way. They spend neither, just a free attack there to bluff. Alright, turn the Menace Dork into a 1/1 Menacer instead of a 3/3 Menacer. That's significantly less bad for me. Down to 17. And they do spend a removal spell on the Lectern. There's land 3. Hopefully not too late here, but it might be. They've got multiple 3/3s down now. Now I can play our 1/3s and 2/3s. Yeah, it likely is too late. None of my creatures are good blockers in the immediate future, so which one is the best over time? Probably Italian's Messenger. I guess it's probably Frolicking Familiar, because that opens me up to potentially drawing a land into casting Moats and trading Familiar off into somebody. Yeah, I mean, that's the draw. Now I can Moats and trade Familiar off, but we just stumbled too many turns in a row against a good aggressive curve here, I think. Kind of the opposite of our last game. Another game decided by the shuffler, but this time decided against us. guess 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a lot of damage, but I maybe keep a blocker this way for next turn. Alright, well, we're mega dead no matter what. Draws did not line up to be winnable for anybody playing this deck. 2 and 2. Here we are for game 5, 2 and 2 right now. This is another hand we desperately need to hit a land. If I do, got a Sentry, Transmuter, and Ice Out. I don't love it, but I'm going to keep it. We're on the draw this time, which gives us another opportunity to find the lands we need. But it does also mean we're going to start off behind, especially if they're aggro. Since they are on the play, they drop turn 1 Tabby. No turn 2 card. Excellent. Alright, so now I can slam down an Obira during the end step. If, for some reason, they tap out for something in main phase 1, I could slam down Obira and block the Tabby, but the Tabby can give itself Death Touch, and I don't really want to offer the trade of Obira into the Tabby. 2 mana is what gives it the Death Touch. Oh, that's filthy. Any removal spell adventures are incredible. Getting a huge 2-for-1 there. Kill our creature, and they're going to be getting a 5/5 and a food token later as well. Yeah, that's super gross. Need to hold an Ice Out up yet? I think I'll just hold up the Ice Out for when they have the 5 mana. Countering a 5/5 that makes a food is a pretty good deal. So instead we just play Lectern, crack our Evolving Wilds, or just play Ice Rot Sentry. I guess we could use 3 mana this turn and 3 mana next turn. If I'm definitely holding up Ice Out next turn, then yeah, we go for our 3-drop. And then next turn we go for our Ice Out and crack Evolving Wilds then. There's a Feed the Cauldron. Do they hit land 4? They don't hit land 4, so it's at least 2 turns before Gingerbread Hunter now. Although Living Lectern is basically 0 impact on this game. Just blocks Tabby and dies to the Death Touch. So I don't think there's a huge reason not to just hold up Ice Out again. So I guess I'll be doing that. Yep. Just play Evolving Wilds, hold up Ice Out, grab a mountain. The 1 mana, 1/1 with a taxable Death Touch ability has just been going for it this game. I guess I can Ice Out that. They resolve the Gingerbread Hunter and I just make their 5/5 a 1/1, and that's fine. We find one of our 2 otters, and I'm going to happily shoot this Warehouse Tabby. Voracious Vermin. Okay. I like drawing a card and then scrying a lot, but Lectern is stopping 2 damage a turn every turn until it gets blown up, if I just keep it around. So that's probably worth it. I'm just going to keep a Lectern around. There's land 4, 1 land away from Gingerbread Hunter. Then we can curse that and get a 3/4 blocker down. We're down to 13. It's a Corvold and the Noble Thief. They're going to get a few treasure tokens. And then cast spells out of my deck against me, which is very rude and annoying. So they just play a Gingerbread Hunter now. Then we make that a 1/1, get a 3/4. They've still got 4 more cards because they've been stuck on mana here, so these treasure tokens are going to be really good for them. 4 non-land cards. Okay, 3 non-land cards. Gingerbread Hunter it is. Oh, wait till they see what they exile. Joke's on them, my deck sucks. Alright, lock down the Gingerbread Hunter. I mean, it's not locked down, but make it a 1/1. And then have a 3/4 blocker, so we've got even better blocks on the ground. Poke for 3. The race continues. Let's see how bad Corvold goes for us. Aww. 2/2 flyer, an Electron, and a land. Not as bad as it could have been if they hit multiple removal spells, but it's actually a pretty solid draw. What are these attacking for specifically? I guess they just want to buff the vermin up a bit. Some trump attacks. Gingerbread Hunter would be pretty excellent with some graveyard recursion, so I feel like I kill the rats and just bounce off the Gingerbread Hunter. Sugar Rush. Yep, that kills Transmuter. Okay. That's gross. Find our Scream Puff. I don't have the mana. I'm 1 mana off from playing that and Misleading Motes. Probably am playing it. I don't think we're getting there here. We are tremendously behind in card advantage. They can still play a bunch more stuff. We're a little bit behind on board, and they just have 5 more options still. So we're probably about to get insurmountably behind. Who knows, though? If somehow they can't kill me in the next 2 attacks, and they've got, like, no interaction, I could make Attendance a 4-power creature and get 2 swings in with it. But they also have 6 points of food life gain. So it is a very uphill battle. Bit late for an ice out. And they've got another flyer with the Barrow Naughty. And try to get the lectern damage in. And again, they have the gain 6. Guess if I ice out the familiar, I get it back though, right? Or sorry, if I'm misleading motes the familiar, I put it back on top of my library? Or who controls where it goes? Creature's owner. So I get to put it back on top if I want to. It's interesting. Maybe I do that? Pay the ward. I guess if I have to pay the ward, then it's not worth doing it main phase. I was gonna say I could do that, then I could sack the lectern and draw into it immediately and cast it, but because I had to pay the ward, I'm 1 mana off from immediately casting it. Yeah. Their board state is wide enough, we're just gonna die in 2 attacks. Well, should have misleading motes at instant speed. Did not count up the mana right. Wouldn't have changed things a lot, because I'm pretty sure we're doing it on the same card regardless. Gotta counter this removal. They have 7 creatures with at least 1 power. We only have 3 blockers. They can just attack with everybody, hit us for 4, and then attack with everybody next turn and kill us. Pretty easily, if they have like 1 more creature to play or something. Well, send in the rat tokens and we gotta try to stop this damage. Kill them both, buff up the vermin. Still just trades into Scream Puff. There's Curse of the Werefox to fight the flyer. Sure. Kill the tabby. Vermin's already big enough, I have to Scream Puff there. Well, I guess if I Lecturned onto Scream Puff would be big enough to maybe not die to Vermin. But then I have too few blockers to really survive here. Also, the Barrow Naughty's pump is going to be horrific for me. They've got enough to buff it twice, hit me for 3 every time. Yeah, so we put Scream Puff on the Vermin, we put the 0/4 on the 3/4. I have to just take the flying, and there's another Curse of the Werefox, alright. Really dying this guy now. And that is dead, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, I guess. Not quite. No, the treasure token means it's dead on board. They sack the treasure, hit for exact lethal. Alright, well, I did not have a lot of fun with this deck at all. I just find that while we did manage to get a lot of blue cards and blue seemed decently open, I'm just really not a fan of the color in this format. I think it's a fine support color, but I've basically never been scared when my opponent's on blue. Never been worried about what I'm playing against there. The only times I think I've really been crushed by blue decks is when they had like the dream deck of their archetype, like if they had 3 of their signposts like Obiras, 3 Picklock Pranksters and stuff like that. So yeah, I did not enjoy this draft or this deck very much. Started off with the Talion's Messenger to just head into blue. Found plenty of the solid blue playables, the familiars, the Into the Fey courts, some transmuters to slow things down, the ice outs for the counters. But find that a lot of the cards in this color are just pretty narrow. Counterspells are inherently narrow. The curse tokens and stuff, the misleading modes kind of stuff, a little slow and narrow. Really not a big fan of blue in this set. Again, I'll still play it as a support color, but I think now that I have done a draft where I was heavy into blue, picking a secondary color from there, really did not like how that felt overall in general. And again, just from playing opponents, unless they were in the perfect draft pod where it seemed like they had 3 of the same, like, great uncommon for their archetype and stuff like that, I've never been all that scared of the blue decks either. So I'm going to start treating blue as strictly a support color in the future and pretty much going to avoid just insta-hopping onto blue as my primary color because I was already low on the color, already wasn't scared of it when my opponents were playing it, and after trying to go for blue as the primary color this time, it's felt pretty bad. This was also just a bad draft in general. Obviously, we didn't find a great spot to commit to our second color, really, and we dirtled around between the black and the white, which ended up with our second color at being a bit mediocre as well. But even the blue core of this deck, in a draft pod where blue didn't feel extremely contested, still felt real weak. So 2 and 3, our worst draft of the format so far by a lot. And I'd be happy to generally avoid blue in the future. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you're interested in seeing some more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.